All right, welcome everyone. This is the moment we've all been waiting for. Our PVT Vertical from our super secret event that you guys joined us the last club, wine club video, and we're so happy that you purchased this event and are joining us today for something really that Rob and I have been waiting for a long, long time. So my name is Kirk. I'm your CEO and founder, just in case you don't know me.
I'm Rob. I'm an executive winemaker here at Paradise Springs.
And yeah, again, this is an event we've been waiting a long time to do, and I'm super excited to try these wines along with you today. So PVT, what is PVT? We'll just talk briefly about that. It's one of our flagship wines here. PVT stands for Petit Verdot Tannat, and this blend is always a 50-50 blend of those two varietals. And we really use our best barrels of each vintage and only make this wine in a vintage that's worthy. To put together a very small batch on this wine, and really this blend was the brainchild of Rob when he first came on here wanting to do this blend. And Rob, you want to tell him a little bit about why you decided Petit Verdot and Tannat?
You know, two great varieties for Virginia. They make a little bit heartier, bigger bodied wines. We can do some Cab Sauv in Virginia. We're never going to hang our hat on it, but these are our two varieties that we can do a bigger, more robust, more tannic, structured wine with. Some people argue that they're a little bit one-dimensional on their own. I think they have their place for sure. I just thought they would make a happy marriage between the two, putting them together. What one lacks, the other one has, and doing some experimenting with this years ago at another winery, I put this blend together, and it was well received by critics and colleagues and in the Governor's Cup, and it's something that has meant a lot to me over the years, and it's kind of one of the wines that I hang my hat on, and I'm glad it's become like our signature flagship wine for us here at Paradise Springs.
It's definitely a special wine. It's one that we've allocated every year. We've had red carpet release parties for it, and as we get back to doing more stuff in person, we're excited to come do that as well. So today we actually have 6 different vintages for you, all the way from the very first vintage that we did of 2012 to 2 vintages that are actually unreleased. The 16 is going to be released here very shortly, and the 17 probably another year, but you will have access to both of those wines today, and we hope you enjoy kind of tasting these against each other. So sort of the format for today, we're going to start off and kind of run through each one of these wines on this video with you, just give you our tasting notes and thoughts, and then we're going to come back and have a roundtable discussion. So don't drink everything from each one, because it'll be fun to kind of come back and revisit and compare and contrast. And so we'll get going on this, and we'll run through, give you our thoughts, and then we'll have a fun roundtable discussion a little bit about everything. And enjoy the cheeses on your plate as well. These were picked handcrafted by our chef, and were paired specifically to do well with this tasting today. So sit back, enjoy, and we'll get this tasting started.
All right, let's get started and have some fun. So, like Kirk alluded to, we have 6 different wines in 6 different years. What we're doing is called a vertical. And it's a really fun way to see a snapshot in this vertical of the same wine in 6 different years that it was made. And that's what the vintage alludes to, is the year that the wine was actually, the grapes were harvested and the wine was made. So it's fun. We're going to see some consistency through these wines from vintage to vintage, because some of the things were kept the same, and we're definitely going to see some variation in those wines from vintage to vintage, because the weather in Virginia varies from year to year and is very inconsistent compared to our colleagues on the West Coast, for example. So let's go ahead and get started. We're left to right. We're going to start with your oldest wine. With a big heavy tannic wine like this, if we started with the youngest wine with the most tannins, the most acid, it's going to kind of overwhelm your palate. And for a few wines, you won't appreciate these older wines. So going older to newer is the best way to start this one. So we're going to start with the 12. I'm going to give it a little spin and sniff.
So 2012, the first year we made PVT, great vintage. And when Rob came to us to want to do this blend, super excited, and we wanted to do the wine justice. So we only made 6 barrels of this wine, which is 150 cases. And so really a very small batch, and excited to try.
Yeah, I mean, right away on the nose, there's some American oak on this. Most of our wines are exclusively French oak, but we do use American oak a little bit on Tannat, and I do get a little bit of the American oak on this. It's been a while since I've had this wine. That American oak has kind of faded out. This wine's still bright, a lot of acidity. That's one of the things I love about Tannat. Even when it comes in really ripe, it still has loads of acidity to it, which will make this wine very bright and vibrant. I definitely get that on the palate. A lot of blackberry notes on this one too. Like I said, there's oak, but the oak's kind of sliding away. Some of those secondary notes are coming out on this one for me.
What's really fun about doing a vertical like this is going back, especially with this wine, because this is a wine that can age. And we've told you guys to age this wine, put it in your cellar. And you're talking about a wine 9 years old here, made in Virginia, that this still has a long life to go. Good acidity, good fruit to it still. And you're starting to see the maturation. Some of those tannins are starting to smooth out a little bit, which is what this wine should be doing in your cellar. But I think over the next 10 years, this is going to continue to drink beautifully.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, these wines are built for the long haul. I mean, in general, if you like your wines more tannic, more bold, drink them in youth. As they age, those tannins are going to soften, the acid's going to soften, and the tannin acid, along with the alcohol, the components are going to allow these wines to age. My goal is to try and make a wine that's approachable in youth, but is age worthy, and I think you'll find that with all these wines. As you get into younger wines, you're going to want to decant these a little bit longer than some of these older wines that we're trying in this tasting. So
absolutely. And if you get a chance to ask your server too to bring a bottle over, take a look at the back label. There's some really interesting information that we put on it, things like Brix and total acidity and pH, some of the geeky science stuff. But when you get to compare and contrast from maybe your two favorites and take a look, you can really see the technical differences when it boils down to it in the science in some of these wines. And even down to the harvest date on when in the season they were harvested. So it's a kind of a fun thing to do throughout your tasting.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun going back, like Kirk said, 9 years. I mean, you don't get a lot of opportunity. I know I don't, as I've been around the Virginia wines, to try a 9-year-old Virginia wine, and especially one like this that's holding up really well.
Absolutely.
I mean, I only had one kid at this point, now I have 3, so kind of fun. So it kind of takes you back,
Yeah.
Think as you go through these years, I always like to have fun and think about, what was I doing in 2012? Where did I live?
Yeah.
That's the cool thing about a vintage, just a snapshot of that year, and it's kind of fun to go back
Absolutely.
to 12 from this.
So go ahead and hit pause on your video, enjoy the 12, save some a little bit to compare, and we'll be back with the 2013. All right, welcome back. We have our 2013 PVT, and let's dive into this wine. Rob, you want to tell us a little bit about 2013 year and what was going on in your life and in the cellar and in the vineyard?
With 13, comparing it to the 12 vintage, which we started with, for me and our vineyard sites, it was a little bit less ripe of a vintage. We still brought this in with ripe fruit. These are from the more concentrated barrels. That's the goal of making PVT, is take the best of the best between the PV and Tannat and put them together as long as they work to make this. This look still ripe, still lush and rich, but a little bit leaner, a little more acid on this wine. And as I alluded to with the 12, that acid's going to allow this wine to age well too. And I'm going to get into this one myself.
So a little bit of differences between the 12 and the 13. It looks like we allowed a little more time aging wise, and I think that was part of our process in bottling. We aged the 2012 for 20 months, where the 13 was 25 months. So a little bit more time in barrel on this wine. And really the difference was the Petit Verdot was picked about 2 weeks later. So really trying to get that Petit Verdot to maturate, but I think it was holding its acidity great on the vine, and I think the result is a little bit deeper, darker. I get that kind of luscious fruit, almost a little coffee component to it as well, but beautiful follow-up to the 12.
Yeah, I get that kind of espresso note, and you're definitely getting that from the oak, and with the extended time in barrel, you're going to get a little bit more of that oak influence. With this wine, I remember this wine in the cellar, like I said, it was really austere with the acidity and all that, between the two varieties, and the extra time in oak definitely helped take the edge off of that. We're trying to not make the same wine every year, obviously, but we have some tools in the cellars, winemakers, and one of those is oak. That's our seasoning, that's our salt and pepper, and as things age in oak, it has an influence on the wine, and we made a conscious decision in the cellar after tasting the 12 that some more time in barrel would do this wine a benefit and not a detriment on this, and I think it shows in this wine for sure. So
absolutely, that's a great follow-up. It's just a great wine. So go ahead and hit pause in there. Enjoy the 2013. Remember to save a little bit to compare, and we'll be back with the 2014.
All right, welcome back. We're going to get started with our third wine in our vertical. We are on to the 2014 PVT. With this one, we're going to get into the weather on this one. It's important and significant to this wine. This is the smallest batch of PVT that we've produced. Besides the 18, which we're not talking about today, this was only 4 barrels. The reason was, if those who can remember the winter moving from 13 into 14, we had the good old polar vortex come down through Canada and through the Midwest, and one of the detriments of Tannat in Virginia, it's not one of the most winter hardy varieties along with Viognier. So we lost a lot of fruit through winter dieback and bud loss from the extreme single-digit temperatures that we had. Kirk, if you remember that January, I know right before we were getting ready to go out to Santa Barbara in 14 and 15, those winters before there, we had 2 harsh winters with a lot of single-digit temperatures that really affected the yield on these. So that's why.
Yeah. So the result, we made half of the wine that we did in the previous year. Really only 4 barrels of this, 2 of each varietal, and really that was all that came in, and really that weather affected this Tannat block for the years to come, which we'll talk a little bit about how that comes back over the next few years. But when you think about it, doing this vertical, like Rob said, it gives you that snapshot in time of what that harvest was like. And it's fascinating to think about all these years and us having to relive the growing moments and the weather and the challenges. And really what wine is a combination of sunlight and water grown from the earth here. And, every day that's a little bit different, every rain, every cloud is going to affect the ripening and the maturation of these grapes just a little bit differently. And that's why you can never truly replicate a wine year in and year out. Even with our same blocks of these varietals, same barrels, as we dialed in the oak, each one of these years is going to be a little bit different. And I think this is the first time you can really taste that a little bit. The nose on the 14, to me, is so far spot on beautiful.
Yeah.
But you can see it's a little thinner than the 12 and the 13 from a tannin perspective. It's
Yeah.
still a beautiful wine, but it's reflective of the vintage.
Yeah, real quick about this wine for me, aromatically very, pungent coming out of the glass, a lot of good balance to the nose with fruit and oak and spice, and then on the palate, it's still got some power to it, but real velvety, lush tannins, really lush mouthfeel that I think of this flight so far, I think a lot of people will really be digging this vintage for sure.
Yep.
It's aging really well still, like these other ones. So.
Absolutely. So enjoy the 14, save a little bit, and we'll be right back with the 2015. All right, welcome back. We're on to the 2015 now, so we're about halfway through the flight. And, this wine is actually our current release, and we're at the very end of it here in the tasting room. And what's great, we actually just got a great account with this wine. The first account to actually pour PVT by the glass at the Four Seasons in Georgetown Bourbon Steak. So if you're a fan of that restaurant and you get out, it should be on by the glass there, and we're very excited about that. But as we move through these, Rob, you want to tell them a little bit about 2015 and the vintage?
I love this vintage across the board for both white and red. I would say, ranking vintages, I would consider 15 an above average vintage for Virginia wines. I love the Camp Franc in 15. I loved, and I just thought the wines just had a purity to them and a balance to them that really showcased potential of Virginia. We're not California, we're not Europe, we're somewhere in between, and I think the 15 vintage really showed that in these wines. So
super smooth on this wine, super velvety tannins. This is a brilliant wine. As we move forward, you can definitely see how some of these have, the ageability of this wine, right? And as we're moving forward, some of these are getting a little bit stronger and punchier, and it needs some of that time as well. And, part of our methodology on releasing these wines is we give it, about 2 years in barrel, and really we've kind of been on a cycle where we're going 2 years in bottle. And so before you even get to taste some of these, they've been sitting in bottle for a while, which I think does the wine a little bit of justice to mellow out. And
for sure. With this wine, like I said, we're getting younger, so I'm getting more of the oak on this wine, more of the oak tannin. You definitely get that velvety, tanniny texture. They're not chalky, rough, astringent tannins, which is perfect. That's the type of tannins you don't want. These are those nice, pillowy, soft, luscious, layered tannins, and I definitely get that in this wine. A lot of dark fruit in this wine, blackberry, plum notes coming out in this wine too. This one is, it's just getting into its drinkability, I think. And it's definitely built for the long haul like these other wines.
Absolutely. One of the other things that stands out about the 15 is I'm looking at the back of these bottles and the harvest dates, and what's super cool, I didn't realize until now, is that over the last 4 vintages, 12, 13, 14, 15, we harvested the Tannat on the exact same day, October 1st. So there must be something in the universe, that is calling for that varietal to come off on that day. But that's pretty striking. I didn't realize that until now. So next October 1st, if you're wondering what we're doing, we're probably picking Tannat. So
True.
might be a good day to stop by the winery and see. But that's super cool. So go ahead and enjoy the 2015 and save a little bit to come back and compare. And we'll be back with the 2016.
All right, welcome back. Let's get into the 16 PVT. Real quick about the harvest on this one. A lot of the red grapes came in a little bit sooner. We get like a little bit of a hot spell there, and stuff really kind of came into phenolic ripeness a little bit quicker than normal. I would say it's a good solid vintage. We're doing the 16s, maybe slightly above average vintage comparative to the past 10 years if you would rank them. But we brought in the Tannat a little bit sooner, PVT Vertical a little bit sooner than we normally did, because we just felt the grapes had their integrity and where they needed to be in this one. So
yeah, about a week earlier on everything on this, and again, we were holding at that 6 barrels that we produced of this wine. So really, that Tannat block was still being reestablished from the polar vortex we had 2 years ago. So we were still down on the yields, and that's why you saw a little bit less in production on this wine. And just so you guys know, this wine is actually still unreleased. We are getting ready to release it soon. So you'll have the first opportunity to taste it now and take some home today, which is exciting. But again, I think that shows our commitment to releasing this wine when it needs to be released. I mean, we're talking 4.5 years ago we picked these grapes. So you got your 2 years in barrel and about 2 years in bottle, and here we are. And you can definitely see the difference. If you take a little sip of the 12 and the 16, and you can kind of compare and contrast that difference of how this wine will mellow out over the maturation of 5 years since we first did it.
Yeah, what's fun about this wine for me is, this is the savoriest of these so far. Definitely just getting to drinkability, and that's why we're getting ready to release it now. The tannins are pretty abundant. I'd still recommend decanting this. We're gonna have these later wines open a little time before you all try them and let them air out a little bit. All these wines will definitely benefit from that. But definitely, I think, there's fruit notes in this, but there's a lot of savoriness to this. It's really fun, really unique, and those tannins are really, this would be great with, saltier cheese or meat. This salt's going to help kind of mellow out the tannins in your palate in this wine. So.
Definitely. All right, we'll go ahead and enjoy the 16, save a little bit, and we'll be back with the final wine, the 2017. All right, welcome back. We have the 2017, your final wine in the lineup today. And again, this wine is super unreleased. It's not one that's actually going to be released for probably well over a year. And but you're getting first access to taste today, and you will have opportunity to take this home as well. So, again, tasting this wine, man, it's big, it's powerful. You can see where these wines progressively need to mellow out, and why we tell you guys these are great wines to cellar. If you like that powerful type of wine, man, this is one you can drink now, but it will get better with time, as you've seen over these last older ones that we've had. And Rob, you want to tell them about the 2017 vintage and what we kind of did?
I love the 17 vintage. Great growing season. A little bit earlier bud break than normal, but we didn't have a lot of rain during bud break. Just a lot of moderate temperatures, so it elongated our growing season. Into harvest, it stayed nice and warm. We had some cool nights, retained acidity. Just really a picture perfect vintage to grow grapes in Virginia. If you could get it done in 17, you need to get a different job as a winemaker. Powerful wine, focused, intense, tannins, acid fruit, all together, but you know, this wine is big, and you know, as Kirk alluded to, this is one that, you know, we like to hold on to these wines and release them to you when they're a little bit more approachable. You can drink this now. I would decant this for 8 hours of the night before. Mark Squires, who is the critic for Robert Parker's Wine Advocate, who does the East Coast and Virginia specifically, love this wine. He said this thing could age 20 to 25 years in his write-up and review of this wine, and I definitely agree with him in this.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think all these wines still have a long way to go to absolute maturity, and so I think that's the point of kind of showing this today is that these wines can go. You know, and what's cool is we've taken you through 2012 to 2017, but you know, some of you are sitting in the barrel room right now, and you might even be sitting next to one of the barrels that has the 18 or the 19 currently in it, and so we have many years of this coming. This is a wine that's going to be around for a while, and a super collectible wine with us, which is kind of what's fun. This is the first time we've been able to do this vertical.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's my signature wine, I would say, or at least one of 2 or 3 that I'm known for in Virginia with other winemakers throughout the state that, you know, garners a lot of respect for us and what we're doing. And other winemakers have told me they've tried these varieties and they just can't put them together as like we're putting them together. And you know, that means a lot, hearing that from my colleagues. And hopefully you think that too, and you're enjoying these. And you know, these have their place. They're big wines, and with the right foods and the right cheeses that we paired them up, hopefully you'll get an appreciation for these wines too. So
one of the hardest things that we have to do is hold wine back for the library, because we want to release it, we want to sell it, we want you guys to enjoy it, and then when it's all sold out, you guys come in and want it still. It's, you know, we have some of it, but it's hidden and tucked away, and we've saved it for moments like this, right? For these times to be able to enjoy it in this context, and I think that's super fun, and I think this is something we can continue to do, and you know, hopefully another decade from now we can be showing you 5 more wines, but also pull out this 2012 and show you where this has gone from that time point. Today you'll have some opportunity to take, you know, a bottle possibly of each of the library wine. We're going to release a little bit of it, not a lot, because we do want to keep this and be able to do this again in time to time for you guys. But you do have the opportunity today to take the unreleased ones home as well. Which jump on that, because you'll get your best price today, and you know, you can have a leg up on anyone else who didn't get the secret event. I don't know, Rob. Going back through these, let's talk a little bit about, you know, what gravitated toward, you know, with you on vintage wise. What did you like the best? What stood out to you in tasting all these together?
you know, right off the bat, potentially, I think the 17 has the best potential of all these wines, closely followed by 15. Just for me, my palate, you know, wine's subjective. You know, everybody likes different wines, and you know, we all might like the PVT, and I'm sure you guys did. You signed up for it, a unique opportunity to try these wines. But you know, maybe it's the structure that appealed to some of you. Maybe it's the fruit intensity, the acidity. You know, and that's a great thing about wine; it's subjective. For me, in looking at it and stepping back, looking at it professionally as a winemaker, you know, and I'm trying to come up with vintage charts for you guys and ageability, I see a little bit more intensity and focus in the 15 and 17, but they're all great in different ways across the board. The savoriness of the 16 is really fun and unique, and the approach on these younger wines and the barrels that we're reusing to the transition, it's kind of fun for me. And you know, I'm learning, having these side by side myself, to kind of put those in the memory bank, to like look at the variations and, you know, knowing in my head what was different in these wines, what was the same. And it's kind of fun to kind of do this comparison. And that's a great thing about a vertical of the same wine.
Totally.
So
I knew you were going to say the 17, because you had 6 vintages to get it more perfect on the aging and the barrel selection and stuff. So yeah, I think you're spot on. I think for me, the nose on the 14 was really jumped out at me as the best nose. The palate on the 15 was beautiful, and the 17 probably has the most potential. And you know, looking down the line on what 18, 19 brings, you know, we were able to do a little bit in 18, even though it wasn't the best vintage. It barely met the threshold for what we wanted to do on it. But you'll see a little less dip in quantity available. But the 19, man, you talk about one of the best vintages in Virginia in a long time. And I've had the opportunity to taste that out of the barrel with you after we blended it, and man, you guys would be in for a treat in that. So probably 3 years from now when we release that wine, maybe 4, if
Yeah.
it's that big. That'll be a really special wine here that I think we'll be able to share with everyone.
Yeah, I would say, these 19 wines that are coming in general are top notch for us and across the state, as I've talked to other colleagues and all that. And the 19 PVT is definitely in line with that. It's definitely the pinnacle of these when it comes. But these are all enjoyable, like I said, in different ways with different foods. Try these all that you save with the different cheeses that we've paired with this. I think each wine, depending on what age it is and what vintage it is, will kind of draw something out different in the cheese of the wine. That's kind of the fun part of something like this, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
I'll never forget, for those of you who are sticking with us this long on the video, we'll just kind of banter and talk a little bit about these. But I'll never forget when you walked in the office and we sat down and you were like, Kirk, I want to make this wine, and here's why. And, you had done it at the previous winery before you had come on board with us, 11, 12 years ago, and showed me a bottle of that wine, and we sat down and talked about how we could do it. And, who knew that would become such a staple here? But you believed in this early on, and you were an early adopter of Tannat in the state of Virginia, and really got us to believe in that when we first started the winery here too. And it took a little bit for us to get the right planting and secure the right fruit to be able to do that. But tell us a little bit about how you've worked with both these varietals and what led you to kind of do this blend, initially, and how we've taken it to another level.
Yeah, I mean, I think initially when people think of Virginia and they're thinking about red wine in specific, they're thinking Cab Franc. And Cab Franc's important to our state. It's big, it's widely planted. Not a lot of other regions, especially on the West Coast, are doing Cab Franc as a single varietal. I think the new wave of winemakers, us that are a little more educated, experienced, that have come into Virginia recently, will kind of hang our hat on Petit Verdot as that main varietal. And I love both. And Tannat kind of always played like third, fourth, fifth fiddle as far as red varieties go in Virginia. A lot of people had a little bit of it and saw the benefits of it for color and structure and acidity as a blending grape. And years ago when I first was cutting my teeth as a winemaker in Virginia, almost 20 years ago, which is hard to believe now, I really gravitated to a variety. I don't know, it just spoke to me. And like I said, it's subjective, and what it offers, it appealed to me. So I started doing it as a single varietal, and there was very few of those done in the state at the time. Dennis Horton and Horton really championed this variety and helped get it, trialed and aired it in the vineyard down in his area outside of Charlottesville in Virginia, and really figured out like how to work with it and all that. And some other wineries adopted it for blending, but I really loved it as a variety, and it can be a little one-dimensional, and I love Petit Verdot, and through some trial and error, and we do a lot of that as winemakers, I started playing with the two together. And as I alluded to at the beginning of the video, I thought what one lacked the other brought, and I thought the marriage between the two was good. And and I love both on their own, and we do a single varietal of both. And we've started doing a single varietal of Petit Verdot on the West Coast now, and and that's going to be fun. So they have their place individually, but I think together you can get a little more complexity between the two and make a more complex, more elevated wine out of the two. And I think PVT is a perfect example of that.
So you got a great vision and a great palate for it, and for those who like this bigger style red wine in Virginia, this hits every bit of those marks. Where there's finesse, ageability, but great tannin structure, and it just hits all those marks. So great job in bringing that and allowing us to do that here, and really wanting to take that on. We're appreciative. I'm sure all of you are appreciative after tasting these today. And if you're enjoying some of these wines now with some of the cheese, and you're still with us after this long video, compare and contrast some of your favorites. But some of the thoughts here too. You can always go back and watch this video. It's going to have the link, and we'll keep it up.
Yeah.
If there are library wines available, it could be a fun thing for you to do with some of your friends back home, is to open these bottles and do this and watch this video again. It'll be up for the long haul. And if some of these aren't available, start collecting them now, because 15, 16, 17, all available for you today.
Yeah.
And but as we move down 5-6 years from now, when they become library wines, they may not be as accessible. So I think the point is, we really want to show you guys that this is an ageable wine. a collectible wine here, and one that we're going to continue to do for the foreseeable future for a long time,
Yeah.
and one we believe in. And,
I mean, you've heard from us, you know, what are our favorites, what we like, what our palates, what we enjoy. You know, it's subjective. You know, please, you know, for those who are doing this and trying this today, watching the video here at the winery, we'd love to hear your feedback.
Mhm.
You know, hit us up on social media, talk to the staff, you know, whatever you're more comfortable with doing. We'd love to, you know, get a poll or kind of hear from you guys on what, you know, what do you like? What do you gravitate towards, you know? I'm, you know, making wines that, you know, I think that we'll all enjoy, including what, you know, not all these wines are geared to my palate, towards Kirk's palate. You know, I'm considering the big picture, and we'd love to get some feedback from you all. And, you know, what vintages do you like? What do you like about this certain vintage? We'd love to hear from you guys. So
Totally. So sit back, enjoy these wines. If you want to take anything home today, please ask your server. And just again, we thank you guys for joining us, and apologize that it still has to be virtually. We wish we could be there with you today and do this as a group and have a great discussion. But I think by the time we do one of these again, I think we're back to that point. So
yeah.
we're all coming out of it, but hopefully this was a bright spot of today. On a busy Saturday here, as you can see, with beautiful weather. And just thank you guys for being so in tune and in touch with us. We were excited to do this as a secret event. We wanted those who were in tune with us to have that first opportunity to really gravitate, not the first person who opened an email, but people who are really tuning in on the last Wine Club video. And so look for more of that. We're going to be kind of dangling these little secret events every now and then, and I think it's a fun way to stay in touch and reward you guys for really keeping up with us. So sit back and enjoy your setting, enjoy these wines, and enjoy PVT. I'm not getting rid of these. I'm gonna drink all of these.
Me too. Cheers.
Cheers. Great job, Rob.
Thanks.
And
Me too.
great job to our team, and
Cheers
great
to you
job
all.
to you guys for being with us all this time. So enjoy PVT, and find us soon. Ask any questions, and we look forward to seeing you soon. And welcome to paradise.